It's time for On Target Radio, Chicagoland's only radio show dedicated to educating, entertaining, and discussion of firearms, legislation, and your Second Amendment rights. Presented in part by the Illinois State Rifle Association, Illinois Gun Works, Safer USA, and Chuck's Gun Shop. Here's your host, firearm instructor, educator, and enthusiastic Second Amendment proponent, David Lombardo.
And welcome to On Target Radio, Chicago's voice for the Second Amendment. I'm David Lombardo, your host, and across the table here for me is my good friend Tim Dalan, your co-host. And every Sunday now from 9 to 10 p.m. we'll be talking about shooting sports, personal protection, hunting, and all things Second Amendment. You'll have the opportunity to call in, and you can talk to our guests. You can ask them questions. You can tell them why you think they're right or wrong. And speaking of guests, Tim,
Yes.
I want to have a special invitation to our illustrious Mayor Rahm Emanuel.
Really?
I do. And don't get me wrong, I respect the office of the mayor. I respect Rahm Emanuel. I think he's done some good stuff for the city of Chicago. We have a somewhat divergent opinion on gun control. I think you'd agree.
I would agree.
Yeah. So what I would like to do, I'm guessing he's probably not listening tonight.
He might be.
You never know. It's possible. But I'm guessing.
He's not listening to the teachers, so he could be listening to us.
That's a good point, yes. But even if he isn't listening, somebody in the vast ocean of our audience on our opening night may actually know him and have a contact.
The counter, I think I see 6 people listening right now.
That's going to really make the whole thing tank, isn't it? Anyway, I would like to invite the mayor to come on our show, and we would be very respectful. This is not, all joking aside, seriously. And I would just like to hear his opinions about gun control. I'd like to have an intelligent conversation with the mayor of the city of Chicago. You hear a lot from anti-gun people that the murder rate per 100,000 in 1957 was 10. And roughly, it's across the entire U.S. And roughly right now, across the U.S., it's 9. And so, I mean, people keep saying, well, what do you have to have a firearm for? Why do you need that? It's safer now than it ever was before. And that's true. That is a true number.
Right.
But the issue, and the one that they kind of gloss over, is that the ag assault rate per 100,000 in 1957 was 60 people per 100,000. And this year, across the United States on average, is 300 people. So it went from 9 in 1957 to 300 today. And it makes you wonder why that is. And the answer is very interesting, it turns out. If we were using 1970s medical technology, our murder rate today would be 4 times what it is now. What's happening is the paramedics and the EMTs are not letting people die on the way to the hospital. They're saving them.
Right.
And if you use 1930, I found this number really interesting. If you use 1930s technology, medical technology,
right,
it would be 10 times greater than it is now. So it's a disingenuous thing to say that it's safer today. The ag assault rate is astronomically higher. Now, just to show you an interesting thing, the murder rate in the city of Chicago per 100,000 right now is 15.2, and which, is really lucky you're not in Detroit because it's astronomical. The ag assault rate in Chicago per 100,000 is 485. The national average is 300. And the ag assault rate in Detroit, are you ready for this?
What's that?
1,192.2.
Wow.
That's like unbelievable.
It is.
So tonight, we are going to be talking about concealed carry in Illinois. We are the only state of 50 that has no form of concealed carry whatsoever. And so we have gathered a prestigious group of individuals. That's impressive. Prestigious group of individuals. We have tonight Richard Pearson, who's the executive director of the Illinois State Rifle Association, a very good friend of both of ours. And hello, Richard.
Good evening.
Up. You have to turn your mic. There you go.
There.
Well, that's the first glitch. So we are 9 minutes and 37 seconds into our first show, and we've already screwed up. That's ominous. But okay, so welcome, Richard.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. And Ed Ronkowski, who's a pro bono attorney for the ISRA and has worked on a lot of the significant cases. Ed, an old friend also, hello.
I'm glad to be here, and I was the one that had to turn his mic on.
He needs a keeper. That's
Yes.
the problem. Yes, you kind of prop
He needs a
him up.
lawyer around at all times.
Exactly.
Oh, we don't even
That's
want to go down
probably
there.
true.
Yeah. And someone who I've never met before, Patty Dieter, right?
Diters.
Diters, there you go. And who is an ISRA member, but also founder and president of the Will County Republican Women's Group. So welcome to all. I would like to just start out. A lot of people, I find unfortunate, don't really know anything about the ISRA. And Richard, this will be a task, but could you give us just, a 1-minute explanation of what the ISRA does?
Well, we are many things. We are a gun rights group. We're an education and training group, marksmanship, that sort of thing. We do a lot of lobbying. We represent your gun rights in Springfield. We have 4 lobbyists down there, of which I am one. The other is being Marine Mulhall, Jim Vanopel, and Coy Pugh. And so we're whenever the legislature's in session, we're there. And the reason is you can't let 177 kindergartens in a 3rd grade classroom with a can of gas and matches. That's how you need to view the legislature.
That's a good description. I like it. So let's start off with this. There are different types of concealed carry. Could you just briefly, somebody tell us what they are? There's a shall issue. What's that about?
Well, there's a shall issue, which says that if you meet the qualifications with background checks and education, then you get the permit. Then the other one is may issue. And may issue is the one that you kind of have to watch out for because it becomes a political football. If I didn't like some guy whose name ended in O, you couldn't have one. Okay, or if it ended in N, I couldn't have one. So there's a lot of reasons that people just whimsically deny people their rights, and so you have places like New York City is a may issue, for example. So the mayor's friends get permits, and if he doesn't like you, you don't. Simple as that.
And so obviously in Illinois, we would prefer to have a shall issue.
You have to in Illinois. If there's any, you got to think about where we are. This is the only state where the last 2 governors makes your license plates. It's
and there you go. We're off. We're at the races already. Great.
Right. So anyway, but the situation is corrupt in Illinois. It just is, and so they regularly deny people their rights in Illinois for a lot of reasons, and so you have to have shall issue.
So last year, the legislation went up and lost, but I think a lot of people think it lost by a huge amount. In fact, it did not, did it?
Lost by 6 votes. So, it's kind of interesting. It is the Speaker of the House, Mike Madigan, has said that it requires a supermajority, but and requires so that requires if you have override home rule, it requires a supermajority. So, because we have one item in our bill, which is a concealed carry license, that overrides home rule, then he has to have a supermajority. And however, when they passed the gambling bill, there's 14 places that the gambling bill overrides home rule, but you don't need a supermajority for that. That's why you have to have a shall issue.
Okay, well, that makes it clear as mud. What about on the legislative front? What's happening? There's been some lawsuits I know filed over this issue, hasn't there, Ed?
Yeah, yes, there has. Most of those lawsuits are still pending. Some of those lawsuits are fighting uphill, and we're waiting for some decisions on the Shepard and case. It's in the 7th Circuit Federal Court. And we'll see what happens on that one. But that's a uphill battle for us.
So there's Shepard has already been heard, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We lost in the trial court and it's on a appeal in the Federal Appellate Court on the 7th Circuit in Chicago.
And basically that's Mary Shepard. It's an elderly woman who actually had a concealed carry out of Florida, I think, wasn't it? Or
2, actually.
Had 2. And because she was in Illinois, she couldn't carry the gun.
She had Utah and Florida, which encompass, 34 or 36 states or something like that.
and was well qualified to own a firearm and was practically beaten to death, right?
Right, and had taken, besides those, 3 other handgun classes for marksmanship and passed all of them. So,
and the poor woman was in a church, volunteering in church, and somebody broke in. And
yeah, a guy is a convict, or not a convict, a parolee, broke in. He's 6'3", 245, and Mary is less than 5 feet high. And there was another lady there cleaning the church, and he beat both of them and actually tried to stomp them to death.
And that's why we don't need concealed carry in Illinois, as they like to tell us.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a perfect case. There's a woman doing the right thing, volunteering at church. The door gets broken down, and these women are almost killed because he wanted to take the money in the church because it was the day after a large event at the church. And he wouldn't be happy just taking the money. He had to try to kill them.
Well, okay. We are going to take a break for some messages. We are talking with Richard Pearson, Executive Director of the ISRA, Ed Ronkowski, and Patty Deiters. I got it right that time. And you're listening to On Target Radio. We'll be back in just a few moments.
The latest traffic every 15 minutes from the PropertyTax.com Traffic Center.
Good evening. I'm Laura Vaughn. It's looking good on our expressways and tollways. The only place we see any significant delay at all is on the inbound Dan Ryan from the Roosevelt to the Circle Interchange, and it amounts to 1 minute. 16 minutes inbound, 15 minutes outbound. Check on the rest of your expressways. Edens, 19 minutes between Lake Cook and the Kennedy Junction. Kennedy, 20 in and out of downtown from O'Hare. 10 back and forth to the junction. Ike, 29 minutes in either direction between Thorndale and the old post office. Stevenson, 34 back and forth between 355 and Lakeshore Drive. Bishop Ford and I-57, each running 15 minutes between I-80 and the Dan Ryan. No worries on our Illinois tollways, and it's all clear in northwest Indiana on 8094, I-65, and I-90. Clear tonight, low 61, rain tomorrow. It's 71 degrees. Next update in 15 minutes on AM 560.
The Steve Cochran Show.
You're the most well-prepared radio personality that I listen to on talk radio. Your comments are always extremely well-reasoned. You are neither radically right, radically left. You are radically well-thought. I enjoy listening to you.
I don't know if my mom's with you, but if she is, say hi.
Steve Cochran, weekdays at 5, right after Michael Medved on AM 560, WIND.
Attention firearm owners or those considering exercising your Second Amendment rights. I want to tell you about Illinois Gun Works. From void services and new firearm purchases to gunsmith services and an indoor shooting range, Don and his staff will assist you without attitude or pressure. Need training? Illinois Gun Works' popular Illinois Responsible Firearm Owners class teaches you the regulations to legally defend yourself, own, and transport your firearm. There's a required class for a Chicago firearm permit and popular new shooter familiarization class, including one for women. Now, I took this class and urge you to reserve your spot fast for this fun class. Illinois Gun Works offers a wide selection of training and certification classes, from security work to those just considering ownership, even special group classes. Illinois Gun Works, Chicagoland's full-service firearm headquarters, is located on Grand Avenue, just a block west of Harlem in Elmwood Park. Call 708-452-0040 or visit IllinoisGunworks.com. That's 708-452-0040.
September 22nd and 23rd, the annual Chicagoland Home Remodeling and Design Expo is at the Odeum Expo Center in Villa Park, where homeowners will find inspiring design tips, decorating hints, remodeling ideas, exterior facelift innovations, and more experts on hand with free tips. The Chicagoland Home Remodeling and Design Expo is a one-of-a-kind chance to get closer to making that dream home a reality while saving money, or help your do-it-yourselfers gain the knowledge and confidence you need to accomplish those unfinished projects. It's all free, so bring the whole family and enjoy amazing exhibits, demonstrations, win prizes, meet with professionals from hundreds of the best Chicagoland and national companies. The Chicagoland Home Remodeling and Design Expo. Find all these remodeling and design solutions experts and huge exclusive discounts under one roof, but only September 22nd and 23rd. It's at the Odeum Expo Center in Villa Park. Visit homeshowevent.com for details on this free event. Don't miss it. Mention AM 560 for a free gift.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM 560 WIND with David Lombardo. Here's David with more interesting conversation on firearms, safety, your Second Amendment rights, and much more. To participate, call the studio at 312-642-5600.
All right, we're back on Target Radio. I'm David Lombardo, and it is time for Tim's Tip of the Week.
Hey, this is your tip of the week, sponsored by the Illinois State Rifle Association. You buy that brand new gun, you buy a box of ammo, you run out the door, you're excited to go shoot it someplace. Wait, did you buy the right ammo? It's not as easy as you may think. Modern firearms have the correct caliber of ammunition they require stamped on the barrel of the gun. 9mm, for example, is not just 9mm. 12 gauge is not just 12 gauge. The 9mm is a perfect example of why you need to check the markings on the barrel to what is stamped on the box. The 9mm that most people own, and some people may consider the standard 9mm, goes by several names. 9mm Parabellum, 9x19mm, 9mm Luger. These are all the same cartridge. But what you need to watch out for are the 9mm Makarov, the 9mm Browning, the 9x21. These cartridges are completely different and are not interchangeable. Also, if you see a plus sign, a plus P, the letter P, or a plus P plus after the caliber on the box, if it's not stamped that same way on the barrel of your firearm, you don't want it. The plus and the P designations signify a more powerful class of ammunition, and could either damage your firearm or you could possibly injure yourself or others. Shotguns have a similar issue. Cells for your shotgun can come in different lengths. Let's use the 12 gauge as an example through the same rule applies across the board. If your 12 gauge shotgun has 12 gauge 2 3/4 inch stamped on the barrel, it is only designed to be used with 12 gauge shells 2 3/4 inches in length. You can't use 3-inch 12-gauge shells or 3.5-inch 12-gauge shells. They won't fit in the chamber of your shotgun. There are many examples of this for rifles, too. If you have any questions or are unsure if you have selected the right ammo, ask your dealer. This has been your Tip of the Week, sponsored by the Illinois State Rifle Association.
For over 100 years, the Illinois State Rifle Association has supported the rights and freedoms of Illinois citizens to keep and bear arms. For over 100 years, the ISRA has supported the promotion of marksmanship practice as a sport, for personal protection as a fundamental aspect of national defense. For over 100 years, the ISRA has supported the rights to hunters to possess and use firearms for sporting purposes. For over 100 years, the ISRA has supported the highest degree of safety, sportsmanship, and good fellowship. For over 100 years, the ISRA has supported the planning, construction, and preservation of civilian shooting ranges. For over 100 years, the Illinois State Rifle Association has been supporting you. Don't you think it's time you supported them? ISRA.org or 815-635-3198. That's 815-635-3198. The Illinois State Rifle Association, supporting you. All right, we're back. It's on Target Radio, and we're talking with Richard Pearson, Ed Ronkowski, and Patty Diders. Patty,
yes.
From a women's perspective, what's the take on concealed carry?
I personally believe it's your constitutional right, and I also believe it's, I was telling you earlier, my husband's in the military. A lot of the times he's gone for long periods of time. It leaves me at home with my kids. And I believe it's, it gives me more confidence to be at home with my children. And it's a self-protection right. The Second Amendment sisters came, and there was a great town hall meeting that the Illinois State Rifle Association had on conceal and carry. Mm-hmm. And they pointed out that on the Illinois State Police website, they said for women to use a tongue depressor to throw up on their potential assailant if you were going to be raped.
Yeah, that was the Illinois State Police's way for women to protect themselves.
Right. So, if my choice is a 9mm or a tongue depressor, I will gladly take a 9mm.
Have you taken firearm training?
Yes, I have. Actually, the first class I took was the NRA Women on Target. It gave me a great basic start. I had my FOID card, had never really gone to the range and done anything. It gave me a good start, and then I got really interested in it, took their advice, and went and I got my first Ruger Mark III 22. got pretty confident in that.
That works.
And now I'm up to an HK.
That definitely
There we
works.
go.
And I am a big fan of my HK.
That's right.
And
Women in guns, you gotta love it.
yeah, and I told my husband I'd be glad to get an AR-15 for Christmas.
You know, I never.
I would be glad to get an AR-15 for Christmas.
This is a good woman, I can tell.
Exactly. Pinker, are you out there listening? This is what I'm looking for, a woman with an AR-15. You're listening to On-Target Radio, and the question now is, are we going to get, and this is open, are we going to get concealed carry in Illinois? Is this ever going to happen?
Can I answer that?
I hope so.
The answer is yes, we are. We know, for example, that the other side, the anti-gun side, is actually working on a concealed carry bill. But it will be a really bad concealed carry bill. It will have home rule, the ability for home rule to override it, which means that you'll be legal in one town and you go another 2 feet and you won't be legal in the other one and you'll be a criminal in one. It'll have extensive background checks, extensive training that goes way over the limit. So it'll wind up just like any of the Chicago ordinances to own a firearm. It's actually a way to restrict people from owning a firearm. In this case, it'll be actually a way to discourage people from getting a concealed carry permit.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're not going to do that. You know, we're insisting on, we think we've gone far enough with the Bill HB 148 in the Illinois House, requires training. We asked every party to come to the table, and some didn't come to the table. When the bill was done, they said, well, we didn't get a chance to speak. We said, we invited you. We're not waiting all day, you know, or all year, actually. It was a year in process, and they had a year to come forward, so the heck with them. But the bill is a good bill. It's more restrictive than most states already because we are in Illinois, but by the same token, it's doable. It's a class you can take in one day, pass the class. It requires only 8 hours of training, and you can go forward with it. And one of the big things that we always want to promote is once you get your concealed carry permit, you can't just quit with that. You need to go back and get repeated training on any type of firearm if you want to really be proficient with it.
We're talking to Richard Pearson, the executive director of the Illinois State Rifle Association. You're listening to On Target Radio. The training aspect, I mean, we started on that, a year and a half ago? We had a little committee, and then that sort of went off. I mean, this whole concept of setting up a training program, as a person who runs a shooting school, I certainly am in favor of training. I believe with privilege comes responsibility. But I don't want the government telling me what the training is going to be, because then you're going to get somebody like some Chicago politician coming up with a training program that's literally impossible.
You know, I like to speak to the Chicago politician issue. You're exactly right. But one of the things that I got involved with in a debate with a Chicago alderman a month or two ago is I discovered that these people who want to tell us how much training we should need on firearms, it dawned on me, none of them have any training at all. You know, they only have opinions. They have no training. They have no basis for their opinion. So when the mayor says that we need so much training, or one of his minions say we need so much training, I said, how much training have you had? They say none. So they don't know, and they have no idea, and they don't want to have an idea. So, but the idea is to keep training so that people can afford to do it. You know, the longer you make a class, the more hours of range time, the more hours of instructor time that you use up. It just keeps making the class more and more expensive. And for a concealed carry permit, you don't need all of that time. You know, you're not, we get the argument, well, the police have 40 hours of firearm training, or 400 hours, or whatever the department requires. That's true, but the civilian, Patty there, isn't out knocking down the doors of drug dealers' houses, making traffic stops, and stopping robberies in progress, unless it happens to be a home invasion in her house. Okay, so the reason you don't need all that training is because you're not a cop. You're not supposed to be a cop. A good, simple way to look at it is you're not the fire department. You just want a fire extinguisher.
Well, that's a good analogy. I think the problem that I feel is if the government at any level gets involved with training, it's going to be a nightmare. But then the question arises, who exactly should be involved in the training? And I don't know if that's something that should be legislated or exactly how that's going to work, but we're going to be back in just a few minutes, and we're going to talk a little bit more, I think, about who should be doing what kind of training and how that needs to be done. I think that's the key link. We teach these seminars, and we find people come in and their attitude is, I'm going to put a gun on, somebody gives me grief, I'm going to shoot him. And I'm going, dude, we got to talk about this. So,
let's talk.
So we're out of here right now, but we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
This
is
presidential
On Target
election, this station is making sure you are registered to vote at votethechange.com. We're giving you a chance to win a trip for two to Los Angeles to visit the Ronald Reagan Library, including a behind-the-scenes VIP tour. We'll also get you into Universal Studios Hollywood, a rental car, 3 nights at the Glendale Hilton, and a VIP lunch with Dennis Prager and Hugh Hewitt. Vote the change. Win the trip. Now you have no excuse not to register at votethechange.com. From AM 560 WIND.
Fox News Radio, I'm Jane Metzler. Libya's president says 50 arrests have been made in the deaths of the U.S. ambassador and 3 other Americans.
Definitely it was planned by foreigners, by people who entered the country a few months ago. And they were planning this criminal act.
President Mohammed al-Magharif on CBS's Face the Nation. On Fox News Sunday, U.S. Ambassador to the UN Susan Rice says still unclear just how much planning went into the attack. Her take.
Those with extremist ties joined the fray and came with heavy weapons, which unfortunately are quite common in post-revolutionary Libya.
Chicago's mayor suing to reopen public schools. There's a tentative contract agreement with striking teachers, but no vote yet. Fox News, we report, you decide.
The latest traffic every 15 minutes from the PropertyTax.com Traffic Center.
Good evening, I'm Laura Vaughn, and it is a nice ride on our expressways and tollways. Eden's running 19 minutes between Lake Cook and the Kennedy Junction. Kennedy, 20 in and out of downtown from O'Hare, 10 back and forth to the junction. Ike, 29 minutes in either direction between Thorndale and the old post office. Stevenson, 34 back and forth between Lakeshore Drive and 355. Inbound Dan Ryan, a little busy from Roosevelt to the Circle Interchange. A 16-minute trip. Outbound is 15 minutes. And there's a little bit of road work set up in the right lane just as you approach the Stevenson. That's weekend road work. It's been there all weekend, but it's not causing a delay. I-57 and the Bishop Ford moving well. No troubles on I-80 or your Illinois tollways. And it's all clear in northwest Indiana on 80, 94, I-65, and I-90. Clear tonight with a low of 61. Rain tomorrow, high 78. It's 71 degrees. Next update in 15 minutes on AM 560.
Chuck's Gun Shop proudly serves Riverdale and the surrounding communities. Located near 130th and the Bishop Ford Freeway, Chuck's Gun Shop is staffed by friendly, skilled professionals who will help guide a first-time shooter and assist you in obtaining a State of Illinois firearm owner's identification card. Chuck offers a full line of new handguns, rifles, shotguns, knives, and accessories. Chuck's also buys, sells, and trades used firearms and has a gunsmith on location that will provide expert care for your favorite firearm. Chuck's features a 6-lane indoor shooting range. Bring your own firearm or rent one from their wide assortment. If you live in Chicago, Chuck's Gun Shop offers the required Chicago Firearms Permit course. Chuck's Gun Shop is open Monday through Saturday and located at 14310 Indiana Avenue in Riverdale. Visit their website, chucksgunshop.net, or call 708-849-4455. That's 708-849-4455. Chuck's Gun Shop, serving Riverdale and surrounding communities. Safer USA, Chicagoland's most popular firearms training school, is offering its home protection and concealed carry seminar every month. This 8-hour seminar covers everything you need to know to safely and legally use a firearm for both concealed carry and home invasion, and qualifies you for both the non-resident Utah concealed carry permit and non-resident Florida concealed carry permit, both recognized in about 30 states. Call and ask how they can help you raise funds for your organization or provide a guest speaker. Safer USA also offers all NRA basic firearms courses, including the NRA Basic Pistol Class, firearm instructor courses, tactical pistol classes, and private one-on-one instruction, including including the Chicago Firearm Permit Course and a basic home defense course. For more information, call 877-954-3030 or go to saferusa.com. Safer USA. Choosing to own a firearm is your business. Teaching you to own it responsibly is theirs. 877-954-3030 or saferusa.com.
September 22nd and 23rd, the annual Chicagoland Home Remodeling and Design Expo is at the Odeum Expo Center in Villa Park, where homeowners will find inspiring design tips, decorating hints, remodeling ideas, exterior facelift innovations, and more experts on hand with free tips. The Chicagoland Home Remodeling and Design Expo is a one-of-a-kind chance to get closer to making that dream home a reality while saving money, or help your do-it-yourselfers gain the knowledge and confidence you need to accomplish those unfinished projects. It's all free, so bring the whole family and enjoy amazing exhibits, demonstrations, win prizes, meet with professionals from hundreds of the best Chicagoland and national companies. The Chicagoland Home Remodeling and Design Expo. Find all these remodeling and design solutions experts and huge exclusive discounts under one roof, but only September 22nd and 23rd. It's at the Odeum Expo Center in Villa Park. Visit homeshowevent.com for details on this free event. Don't miss it. Mention AM 560 for a free gift.
You're listening to On Target on AM 560 WIND with David Lombardo. Here's David with more interesting conversation on firearms, safety, your Second Amendment rights, and much more. To participate, call the studio at 312-642-5600.
And we're back on Target Radio. This is David Lombardo and my good buddy Tim Dalan standing across from me, looking at me.
Staring at you.
Staring at me, he is indeed. That number to call in again, 312-642-5600. Or you can go to our Facebook page, which is On Target Radio. That's original. And you can drop us a line there, and we'll be happy to answer a question if it appears on the Facebook page. But right now, Ed, there's some statistics about states that do as versus don't have training for concealed carry. My understanding is it's kind of a wash.
That's correct. Professor Lott has done some peer-reviewed academic studies comparing the states that have training to the states that don't have training under carry concealed. And there is no statistical significant difference in the accident rate or the death rate. The training doesn't have a actual application where you could say that it's needed.
See, that's going to put us out of business. That kind of worries me a little bit.
Well, let me explain my take on that. The NRA once did a survey on people using firearms, and they found out in 100 instances of a homeowner using a firearm in self-defense, it was only fired once. The criminals are cowards. They run, and 99 times out of 100, when you pull a firearm, you don't need training to shoot it. That criminal is going to run out of there as fast as you can. So that's the reason. Now, if you want to be that one person out of 100 that has to use a firearm in self-defense, then the training is very, very important.
Well, I guess here's the thing about what you just said, because the example that you gave was a home invasion. And as you know, the way we talk about home invasion is setting up a safe room and you're basically forcing them to come to you if they in fact want to do that, and that pretty much eliminates them most of the time. And if by chance they decide they really want to get you, they're coming into your room, your bedroom, and that's sort of an easy thing. But concealed carry is a very different situation. I mean, you're out and about, and as I always tell people, you don't know that you're the victim until it's already in progress, and then you have to respond. And the complexity of that, I think, is pretty staggering, simply because you have to make decisions. I mean, if I shoot here, there's a 10-year-old kid playing hopscotch behind him. I mean, how do that to me requires training.
Well, the decision-making requires training, certainly. And people, if they don't have the dexterity is something you learn in firearms. Marksmanship is a perishable skill, so you have to keep it up. So situations that you might get in different kinds of training can be applied to what happens to you on the street or in your car or wherever it happens to you. But you got to remember, the reason you need that is the first point of contact with the criminal is the victim. And so, there's no waiting for the police to come. It doesn't matter if they're standing 10 feet away. They can't react fast enough.
Right, and you're absolutely right. I always tell people that if you let someone get that close to you, it's as much your fault as it is that they're taking advantage of you. We have Mike in Lake Zurich. Mike?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Mike. We have a question?
Hi, Dave. Yeah, I do have a question, Dave. I am a firearm owner, and I'm really hoping, I'm glad you guys are doing this show. I have a question about concealed carry. If we do get concealed carry in Illinois, I was wondering, what kind of firearm you would recommend for carrying.
Well,
you want
that's another show.
Tim and I have a great disagreement on this subject.
Well, we have about 2 minutes left in this segment, and it'd probably take each of us about 6 minutes to get through. I know it's something that's been discussed a lot. I know, Richard, you have a lot of thoughts on it.
It's got to be something that fits you. Firearms are like shoes. If they don't fit, they don't work very well. And so the first thing you have to do is make sure that your hand size is correct, and then that the firearm will do the job. I'm looking at Patty over there. My hands are much bigger than hers, so I can do more things than she can. Although some very small handguns I can't shoot because my hands are too big.
I have a nice Ruger LCP, and hopefully when we get carry and conceal, that's going to be my carry and conceal weapon. It fits me nice. I've practiced with it a lot, done it up close, and like you said, it depending on who it is, doesn't fit my husband, fits me nicely.
Right. So it's a very individual choice, and you should actually that's one of the reasons you should take a class, because the instructor should be able to help you decide that. And I'm very big on that kind of thing, because sometimes if you go to certain stores, they just want to sell you a firearm.
Well, and that is a big issue. I've had people show up in class. I always tell them, don't buy a firearm until after you've taken the course. And twice I've had elderly women show up in class, these are unrelated, with a Walther PPK, and neither one of them could even pull the slide back. So, right. I mean, that is an issue, and it's something that, that we're constantly fighting. But we're going to be out again. We're going to have a few more commercials. Please support our folks that make this program possible. This is On Target Radio. We are taking calls. Please do call in, 312-642-5600. And we would be happy to hear from you. We're all standing by and waiting.
Or ask a question on Facebook.
There you go.
The latest traffic every 15 minutes from the PropertyTax.com Traffic Center.
Good evening. I'm Laura Vaughn. Our expressways and tollways are moving quite well. I'm going to tell you about a little bit of construction before we get started on your travel times. Outbound Dan Ryan has some roadwork set up in the right lane approaching the Stevenson. This is weekend roadwork. Scheduled to be there till 5 a.m. tomorrow. Kennedy Express lanes are closed between, obviously, Ohio and the junction in both directions for the overnight hours for maintenance. Tri-State Tollway loads of barricades in both directions between I-57 and O'Hare Airport. 1, 2, or 3 lanes are taken. Not seeing any significant mentionable delays at this time. All clear on your Edens, Kennedy, Ike, and Stevenson. I-57 and the Bishop Ford moving well. Lakeshore Drive is trouble-free. Clear tonight with a low of 61. Rain likely tomorrow, high 78. It's 71 degrees. Next update in 15 minutes on AM 560.
Attention firearm owners or those considering exercising your Second Amendment rights. I want to tell you about Illinois Gun Works. From void services and new firearm purchases to gunsmith services and an indoor shooting range, Don and his staff will assist you without attitude or pressure. Need training? Illinois Gun Works' popular Illinois Responsible Firearm Owners class teaches you the regulations to legally defend yourself, own, and transport your firearm. There's a required class for a Chicago firearm permit and popular new shooter familiarity familiarization class, including one for women. Now, I took this class and urge you to reserve your spot fast for this fun class. Illinois Gunworks offers a wide selection of training and certification classes, from security work to those just considering ownership, even special group classes. Illinois Gunworks, Chicagoland's full-service firearm headquarters, is located on Grand Avenue, just a block west of Harlem in Elmwood Park. Call 708-452-0040 or visit IllinoisGunworks.com. That's 708-452-0040.
There's a big difference between car insurance and a warranty. If you get into an accident, you need insurance. When your car breaks down and your repair bill is sky high, that's when you need a warranty. But if the manufacturer's warranty on your car is expired, you're stuck paying that bill yourself. And that's why you need an extended service contract from My Repair Shield. Think about it. How many car accidents have you been in? 1, 2 maybe? Now, how many times has your car ever needed a repair? There's no comparison. For one small monthly payment, My Repair Shield provides you with 24-hour roadside assistance, ensures the proper repairs are made by a reputable mechanic, and they can even pay for a rental car. If your car is less than 20 years old and has fewer than 150,000 miles, call them now for a free no-obligation quote. Call in the next 30 minutes and immediately save $100. Call 800-903-7443. 800-903-7443. 800-903-7443 or visit myrepairshield.com. You're listening to On Target Radio on AM 560 WIND with David Lombardo. Here's David with more interesting conversation on firearms, safety, your Second Amendment rights, and much more. To participate, call the studio at 312-642-5600.
All right, we're back. It's On Target Radio, and we're talking about concealed carry in the state of Illinois. The subject that we were talking about just before I went to break was the training aspect, and Ed Ronkowski, who is the pro bono attorney for the ISRA, was pointed out that statistics show that there's essentially no difference in terms of safety between states that require training and states that don't. But I think overall, and I'm an educator, but I think overall the concept of training is good. The question becomes, what do we teach them? What is an important thing for concealed carry?
Well, the first thing that you teach is handgun safety or gun safety. You know, it's all very similar, but gun safety is one of the things. And one of the things that happens with states that have training, it may not have a lot to do with the person who takes the permit, but there's a spillover effect in that the family of the permit holder also gets that training. And so in-home accidents, that sort of thing, tend to decline.
Yeah. You also have to cover legal liability. There's a lot of misapprehension about when you could shoot somebody and when you shouldn't.
Is it an advantage or disadvantage legally to have training if you actually end up in court?
In a civil case, it could be an advantage in that you've had the training, and it makes you less likely to be negligent in a civil case. In a criminal case, it's irrelevant. If you have the right to shoot somebody in self-defense, you could do it with or without training. It's totally irrelevant.
Right. And one of the things I really want to point out, because I hear this a lot, well, I don't know that I could shoot somebody. What if I fire a warning shot?
Bad idea.
Or I shoot them in the leg, right? And I tell people, legally, what's the status of that?
There's no requirement in Illinois law to fire a warning shot, and anytime you fire in the direction of a person, you have to have the ability to use deadly force against them. So if you end up if you're not at the point where you could use deadly force and you fire a warning shot and somebody's injured, you're criminally liable. So the idea of firing a warning shot is not necessary.
In fact, it's unwise.
Yes. From a tactical standpoint, I would have to agree with you.
The other thing you got to remember, for instance, so suppose you're in your home, okay? You have actually about 15 seconds to make a lot of decisions when a home invasion occurs.
And it's usually in the middle of the night when you're sound asleep.
Right. So forget that warning shot stuff. Be sure of your target. But, if somebody's attacking you, forget the warning shot.
Yeah, I'm a retired prosecutor. I spent 29 and a half years doing that before retiring from the various prosecuting agencies. And I've seen a lot of home invasion cases. And a lot of times the homeowner's awake, there's a knock at the door, and there's somebody on the other side that doesn't look right. The homeowner opens the door, ready to slam it, and all of a sudden it's pushed open, and there's a gun in his face. Sometimes the best way to avoid a home invasion, if you don't like the looks of the person on the other side of the door, keep the door closed and locked and talk through the door. And if you're armed and he tries to break in, then deadly force may be necessary.
The other thing is that criminals are very good at getting a door open. In southern Illinois, there was people going around with a recording of a baby crying and say, "My baby needs help," and the elderly people would open the door, and that was the end of them.
You're listening on Target Radio, and we have a caller from Mike from New Lenox, I believe it is. Mike, are you there? Mike? Nope, I guess we don't have Mike from New Lenox. I thought we did.
Call back.
We're having a little issue with the phone screening, but that's okay. It's not a problem. We'll survive.
But anyway, there's all kinds of tricks to get people to open the door, and all of them involve letting your guard down. They're trying to reduce your fear of opening the door, and of course they're doing that because they can take advantage of you. So, there were several home invasions in Southern Illinois where they had a doll wrapped up with this recording. Knock on the door, and my baby needs help. And
yeah, I've seen it. The home invader was pretending to be a policeman. Another one said he was out of gas and needed a phone to call for a tow truck. Another home invader, which a victim was killed, the home invader was dressed up like a priest. So there are some bad guys out there.
Well, one of the things that we teach in our seminar is sociopaths know the kinds of buttons to push to get the job done. And they will, I mean, you look at some of the classic ones, the serial killers who've gone on and done it over and over and over again, they're really good at reading people and knowing. They'll look at you like, if you're a little kid, my puppy, I lost my puppy. If you're a woman, I'm injured, and the kinds of things that they do are very good. We have we do have a caller on the line now, don't we? We do, but we're going to have to hold it till after the break. We're going to be going out again. This is On Target Radio. We are taking calls 312-642-5600, and when we come back, we'll get Michael from New Lenox. So that's coming up in just a couple of minutes.
Chuck's Gun Shop proudly serves Riverdale and the surrounding communities. Located near 130th and the Bishop Ford Freeway, Chuck's Gun Shop is staffed by friendly, skilled professionals who will help guide a first-time shooter and assist you in obtaining a State of Illinois firearm owner's identification card. Chuck offers a full line of new handguns, rifles, shotguns, knives, and accessories. Chuck's also buys, sells, and trades used firearms and has a gunsmith on location that will provide expert care for your favorite firearm. Chuck's features a 6-lane indoor shooting range. Bring your own firearm or rent one from their wide assortment. If you live in Chicago, Chuck's Gun Shop offers the required Chicago firearms permit course. Chuck's Gun Shop is open Monday through Saturday and located at 14310 Indiana Avenue in Riverdale. Visit their website, chucksgunshop.net, or call 708-849-4455. That's 708-849-4455. Chuck's Gun Shop, serving Riverdale and surrounding communities.
Can you believe it's been over a quarter of a century since the introduction of high-8 tapes? So much has likely happened in your life during that time. For example, maybe your newborn baby is now in high school or college. And right now, FilmTransfer.com is remembering that time by offering an amazing 40% off the transfer of all high-8 or video 8 tape formats. This special offer is valid for a limited time only through September 23rd. So gather all those tapes and have FilmTransfer.com digitize them on DVD, Blu-ray, or external hard drive so they can be enjoyed anywhere and anytime. FilmTransfer.com, the trusted source for conversion by the Air and Space Museum, Joffrey Ballet, and NASA. For more information or to place an order, visit FilmTransfer.com or call 312-CONVERT. Call now at 312-CONVERT or online at FilmTransfer.com. 312-266-CONVERT.
We now return to On Target on AM 560 WIND. If you have a question or opinion, the studio line is 312-642-5600. Now, here's your host, firearm expert and educator, David Lombardo.
And we're back to On Target Radio. And I apologize for, we had some people who called in and they got disconnected. We're having a little problem with the board. And we're back up with Michael in New Lenox. Michael.
Yes, quick question. First of all, congratulations on your new inaugural program.
Thank you.
I have a question. The McLean County State's Attorney made a real gutsy move, which you're probably familiar with. His name is Ronald Dozier.
Right.
Do you think there's going to be... Yes. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, and my question is, do you think there's going to be any cooperation with other states' attorneys who will take the same position that he did?
I can answer that. They've done a survey, and there are some states' attorneys that are taking the position that they're not going to be enforcing certain gun laws because they believe it's unconstitutional. Most are waiting to look to see what the individual circumstances are, and others are going to just continue prosecuting them willy-nilly. The problem you have in those counties, every state's attorney is up for a re-election. This particular state's attorney may not decide to prosecute you, and after November 6th,
that's right.
The next state's attorney can. There's a 3-year statute of limitations. So it's not a grant of immunity. It's a prosecutorial discretion that the next state's attorney could prosecute you and make you a felon.
The other thing is, a few of my policeman buddies called me and said they got orders from on high that you will arrest people anyway.
Okay, thank you, Michael. I appreciate you calling in. Let's go to Greg in Zion. Greg, are you there?
Oh, yes. Hey, nice to talk to you. I appreciate you taking my call.
Thank you.
I'm in the Navy. I recently moved to the area. This is the first state I've lived in where I wasn't allowed to carry a concealed weapon or even open carry. But it's, in terms of the training, is they going to require training for military? I mean, we don't have a whole lot of time, and I'm gone a lot, and I don't see, why. I don't even see why you should have to have a permit. You don't have to have a permit to exercise your First or Third or Fourth or Fifth Amendment rights.
The answer is yes.
That's a short answer.
That's a short answer, but
will my military training? Will the military training suffice?
No, it will not. Because part of the thing is what Ed was talking about is you have to be trained under Illinois law, and so there's a section in there on Illinois law plus gun handling, gun safety, so forth and so on that's going to be required.
Yeah, but that's a one-day training, right?
It's 1 day, yeah. And you probably need it anyway.
Reciprocity with other permits?
Reciprocity you asked about.
Well, reciprocity is not in this bill yet, but it's like all bills when it will come if it gets passed. It's going to be a step process in Illinois.
Great show, and great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much, Greg. We appreciate you giving a call.
Yeah, one of the things that people get screwed up on, they think if they have a Florida permit, for example, that will apply in Illinois. That is never true in any state. You have to be permitted in the state that you live in. If you want a Florida permit and an Illinois permit, you have at it. But if you live in Illinois or Kentucky, you also must have a Kentucky permit and a Florida permit. All states require that you take their training if you're a resident of that state.
Yeah, in fact, Utah says that very same thing. It's the only advantage you have if you live in Illinois. Because we don't have concealed carry, you don't have to have a concealed carry if you're an Illinois resident to get Utah. But otherwise, you have to have your home state first before they'll approve it. So I think the biggest thing, and this is probably something we need to do another time for another show because it is a big issue, but that is it's a patchwork quilt. I mean, it's not even just state to state. It's county to county. It's municipality to municipality. You just can't take your firearm from one place to another and assume that it's going to work.
And the anti-gun groups want to make it a patchwork because they want to make it tough as possible.
Exactly. I'd like to thank our guests who took the time to come to On Target Radio, Richard Pearson, Ed Ronkowski, and Patty Deiters. Thanks to Vicki Cohen, our call screener, and George Hoffman on the board. Thank you very much, George. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Illinois Gun Works, Chuck's Gun Shop, Illinois State Rifle Association, 31 Moons, and Safer USA. We'd also like to thank Mike Sakoff for making it all possible. Next week, action shooting sports and the zombie shooting craze.